Very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you all had a pretty decent weekend. I know we didn't win at the weekend. We got beat by probably the best domestic team in the world. But that's nothing to be too ashamed of, really, is it? I'm going to talk a little bit about the game later on, and also some other updated news about players, etc. And I'm going to start off with the news that I heard today is that Michail Antonio has signed a new contract. Apparently he had he was meant to, his contract was meant to end at the end of this season, but he already had an extension clause on it for an additional year. But apparently today I was told that he's signed a new deal, which is for another year. So basically now his contract ends in 2025 and he's got an option of a further year beyond that. Now, I think there's going to be mixed feelings about this. Look, we've got to acknowledge how fantastic Michail Antonio has been for West Ham United, the top Premier League goal scorer and all that sort of stuff. We know all that. But at 33 years of age, we are beginning to wonder whether David Moyes or West Ham United are ever going to find an alternative to Antonio, because when he's on form, he's fantastic. But when he's not on form, there's a big gap that's left, and we have a bit of an issue, don't we? Now, I suggested, and fair play, I did suggest this, and I kind of still stick to it to some point. I suggested that quite possibly we could do without another striker this season. With the signing of Mohamed Kudus, I think we've probably got enough to cover in that position. But in order for that to work, you've got to give the likes of Kudus, or even if it's going to be Bowen up front, you've got to give him enough time in the game to actually do something, in that position. Now, look, we saw Antonio at the weekend. It wasn't his best game. He kind of laboured a little bit. I think he struggled, and he did come off on 64, 65 minutes, something like that. And Kudus did come on, but Kudus went out wide. Bowen went in the middle. They kind of switched around a little bit. And it kind of didn't work. Ironically, I think the substitutions, and like I said, I will talk about the game a little bit later on. Ironically, I think it kind of the subs that Moyes made were the wrong ones in a roundabout sort of way. But I think that's down to Alvarez as well, because he had cramp. He had to come off. But anyway, the news today, and I was told apparently it wasn't signed today, the contract. Apparently it was signed 2 weeks ago. So Michail Antonio has got a new contract at West Ham. It adds another year to what he already had. His contract was due to end at the end of next summer. It's now due to end at the end of 2025, and there's an option beyond that for another year on top of that. Now that makes him 30. That will take him to 36 years of age. He's 33 now. Like I said, when he's fit, when he's firing, he's fantastic. He's superb for West Ham. When he's not, we kind of have an issue. So I'm pleased for him, because I think he's been a great servant to West Ham United. Do I think it's necessarily the right thing for West Ham signing him on an extended contract? Honestly, I'm going to be honest. No, I don't. I think we should have gone out and bought ourselves a striker. And if not, then at least give the opportunity to Kudus and to Bowen, whichever one it's going to be, or even Mubama, the young Mubama as well. Give him an opportunity to see what he can do. He might get a chance on Thursday. I'm also going to talk about the game coming up in Europe on Thursday as well. So, welcome to the show. Antonio's signed. I'm going to talk about these silly transfer rumours. Good grief, they've started early, haven't they? I'm going to talk about those in a minute. I'm going to talk about the game as well. And I'm going to give you a little bit of update on other club news, such as the under-21s and the under-18s. But before I do all that, let's go into the chat and say good evening to everybody. Usual, I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Graham. How are you? Great. And Chris, nice of you to join, mate. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining. Good evening, Hammerette. I hope you had a nice little break and you were all back and refreshed. I hope you're well. Thanks always to all my moderators, Hammerette, Clive, Daniela. You keep the show going, so I really do appreciate it, and thank you. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well. Graham, Soufal's lack of pace is very concerning, and even though he tried his heart out, I think he will be targeted all season now. It was a huge game, but Mavropanos is a very fast defender who can play there. It's not a bad shout. I think we might see a little bit of Mavropanos on Thursday night. I wouldn't be surprised. Howard, I hope you're well. Thanks for joining, mate. Chris, Mavropanos is a goal scorer. He is indeed. He started life as a striker, and then he went to being a defender. But yes, he scored twice for Greece in the internationals. And boy, oh boy, he's got a fantastic right foot on him. He's not just a set piece player. He can actually carry the ball out of defence, and he's got a really good, decent shot on him. Daniela, Estelle, they just rumours. International week. It's funny how we all had a full weekend of fixtures and Champions League football starting the rumours to see to stop I know it's all rumours, I know, but it's ridiculous rumours, and I want to quash them if I can tonight. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Good evening, Andy. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Who else have we got in the chat today? Black Country, how are you, mate? I am. I mean, maybe a minute late, but that's not bad for me, is it? I probably lost about 50 people because they were expecting me to come on at 9:15. Robert, good evening to you. Bets on that. There you go. I should have bet you. Christopher, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Excited for Europe this week. Any thoughts on how decent the opposition? I'll give you a little bit of detail about the opposition a little bit later on. Keith, good Galispera to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, Adam. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening, Rani. How are you, mate? Good evening, Paul. How are you? And good evening to you as well, Flamer. Sarif, how are you, mate? Galispera, see? Oh, you bastard. Oh, fucking hate you. Which part of Cyprus are you in? Oh, I hope it pisses down with rain for the next 3 weeks. No, I don't. Good evening to you, Sarif. I hope you're well, and I hope you're having a good time out there. Graham, are you sure it's a new deal or an application for a pass? Mr. Tiley, how are you? I hope you're well. Mark, good evening to you. I hope you're well too. Henry, good evening to you. Antonio has an option on the club. Antonio has an option, or the club has a further option. That bit I don't know. I think it might be a mutual further option. I'm not 100% sure. I only got the news about an hour before I came on tonight, and I said, any updates? And I was told, yes, Antonio has signed a new contract 2 weeks ago, another year. Okay. But I don't know what the option is. It could be a mutual option for another year. Ralph, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Antonio deal is mad. Is that in a good way or in a bad way? Explain to me, mate. Robert, is this to make the Saudi pay up for it? Well, that's another thing on what I'm thinking of. You know, when you extend a player's contract, it means that they're worth a little bit more money because they're on a longer term contract. If you remember, Souček, he's signed a 4-year deal and everyone questioned that as well. It means that, you know, after this season, he'll still have 3 years left on his contract, and maybe we'll get a little bit of money for it for him as well. And I can't help feeling, Robert, that you might have hit a point there. That quite possibly we've given him another year in order for his value to sort of be maintained. I don't know what we'd get for him, 10, 15 million, something like that. But I guess with another year, it will still, you know, we might still get 10 million. Now, I'm kind of surprised, to be quite honest with you, with Antonio. I'm not upset by it. I'm kind of surprised by it. And I'm surprised by it because Antonio, as we know, has been angling to move for quite some time. If anyone listens to his podcasts, you know, and the way he talks about things, etc., you know, he's wanted to sort of like look to leave West Ham, or has he done it in order for West Ham to twist West Ham's arm to give him a better deal? Now, apparently, the deal that he signed is on better pay. Now, I don't know what he's on. I think he was already on about 80, 90 grand a week. So it's probably taken him to the 100,000 mark, just over 100,000, I would guess. Look, he's been a great. This is the dilemma I think a lot of West Ham fans will have. He's been a great servant, but at 33 years of age, you want, don't you, an alternative up front? You want something different. With the greatest of respect to him, and him signing this contract, it's just like, I don't know. I'm sure he'll give us another year of service, another season of service. But then what after that? Does that mean with him signing an extended contract that we're not going to go and sign a striker again in either January or next summer as well? That's the bit that kind of worries me. Good evening, Robert. Forest have just equalised. Yeah, they're playing Burnley tonight, aren't they? Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well, mate. Steve, disagree still. Bowen isn't a striker, and still I say we are weak in the attack with Antonio and Ings. I agree with you on Ings. I don't disagree with you on that. When Antonio's on fire, I think he's he look at the start of the season. Everyone was really surprised at how well he did. And when he's on form, he's great for us. But we do need an alternative. I'm not saying that Bowen is a striker. I think Bowen can play that kind of role. I think he's proven it to us time and time again. When he was at Hull, he played up front as well. He's done it a couple of times for us as well. But at the same time, look, we do need a striker, but it looks like we're not getting one for the foreseeable future. I'll tell you a little story. Mark, if you're on tonight, lovely to have met you on Saturday. Thank you, mate. I mean, it was a bit of a weird moment that you asked me to sign your shorts, but I was taken aback, but thank you. Darren was one of the guys that was laughing at me, actually, while I was doing it. He even took a photo of me doing it, you bloody cheeky git. Anyway, Darren, I hope you're well. And I'll see you Thursday, I guess. Chris, he'll struggle more and more with his age. Time to look at younger replay. I think so. I think so. Apparently, there's stories about Hugo Ekitike, who's not managed to move from PSG in the summertime, and apparently he's not going to get much game time. I don't know. I've not looked at his stats, and it sounds as if we might be looking to come in and sign him again in January. But let's see what happens there. Matt, for me, I'm happy with Antonio getting a new deal, but Bowen is the main priority for a new long-term contract. I'm going to talk about that and try and scupper some of the silly transfer rumours that are going on at the moment, because there are an awful lot of weird things that are going on. Paul, Mbama could be the Antonio replacement if he gets to play. I agree with that as well, but we need to see the boy play, don't we? Flimmer, you're on time tonight. No internet cats or Mrs. Trump, nothing at all. I had this set up for. There are no stories apart from silly transfer stories, the Antonio story, and to talk about the game at the weekend. Adam. A missed chance and a mistake cost us. We pushed them and played well, but Alvarez going off on 66 minutes lost us the midfield battle. But we should hold our heads high. We will have a good season. I do agree with that, and I've got a list of things that I just want to cover. I did a review straight after the game on Saturday, and I felt a bit down. Not because we lost against a very good team, but I don't know why. I don't know why I had a bit of a downer. I did try and apologise for that, but I'm going to go through the game a bit later on. Daniela, who does a team with 3 back-to-back seasons of European football, a semi-final and a trophy, top 2 7 finishes in 3 years, does not get considered as computing for top 7? Who cares? Bloody computer. It's what we do on the pitch. I get you though, Daniela. Apparently we're going to finish, what was it? Something like lower than mid-table or something. Antonio, Matt can be a good teacher for Mbama. In a way, Ings just doesn't suit our style. Totally agree. Usual. Moyes will sign Maguire in January. The man is a goal machine. Don't do it. Matt, news on Jesse? No, it's gone quiet there. He's still training with the club. As you know, there was a deadline last week. I think it was Wednesday that West Ham United had to submit. Well, all Premier League teams had to submit their 25-man squad. We submitted a 24-man squad, but because we're still giving Antonio, or Moyes is still giving Antonio a little bit of time to get fully match fit. Look, the good thing is he's a free agent, which means that we can apply to the Premier League and say we'd like to add another player to the squad. So at this moment in time, he's still training with the squad. He's still not quite match fit. I think Moyes is going to give him just that bit more time before he makes a final decision. But I think it's going to happen. I think Lingard will become a West Ham player. I don't know, within the next week or two, probably. A lot of people speculated it was going to be before the Man City game. That didn't happen. A lot of people speculated it would be before the squad was handed into the Premier League. That didn't happen. But I think it's still on the cards. I know there's a lot of rumour about maybe 1 or 2 other Premier League teams are looking at the potential of signing him as well. It's possible. But I think it's only going to happen if Moyes decides he doesn't want to have him. I think the difference is, I think I explained last week, is whereas before when we were trying to get him, fighting over Nottingham Forest over him, he was sort of holding all the aces, wasn't he? The difference now is he's not had a great season. In fact, he's not had a great 2 seasons. The last season at Man United, the last season at Nottingham Forest, not great. He knows he's got a massive opportunity with West Ham United. He knows that he doesn't really want to mess this up because he might end up in a team that, a bit like Nottingham Forest, where it wasn't great for him. He knows that he's going to be made to feel at home. He gets on with the players, he gets on with the manager, etc. So I think I don't think he's going to jump ship. Like I said, I think the only reason why he might move elsewhere is because David Moyes has decided that he doesn't want him. Nasa, good evening. Nasa, good evening to you. I like your suggestion after the defeat that West Ham are back to normal, means finishing 6th to 10th place. Yeah, I think that's the bit I felt upset myself about, sort of being a bit down on it. It wasn't really back to normal, to be quite honest with you, because I think we played the best domestic team in the world. And I think, like someone else said earlier, we held our own for an awful long time. One mistake and one injury changed the game, didn't it? Unfortunately. George, good evening to you. Signs are still good for the season, even after the Man City game. I totally agree. And ironically, people talking about, Moyes is back to his usual, sitting back, letting the other team have all the possession, etc. Ironically, that game on Saturday, we had the second highest possession this season in the 5 games that we played in the Premier League. The first highest was against Luton a few weeks before, and we had 30-odd% possession against Man City. Surprised me, to be quite honest with you. I didn't think it was as high, but that was second highest possession this season. Look, that doesn't mean that everything is solved. I know fans want to see us having more of the ball, but 33% possession against Man City for a team that really holds the ball really well. Well, I think that wasn't too bad. And we held our own until the 67th minute. Matt, who the hell we got on Thursday? They any good? Talk about them in a minute. They're called Baka Topola. I'll give you a little bit of an update about them and let you know. Kerry, Hammerette, sorry. The break was amazing and well needed. Good, I'm really pleased. Russell, talk about having your cake and eating it. I still maintain he's not been the same player since he got his 4-year contract, and now he's blagged another year. He's got a very good agent. That's all you've got to say. He must have one of the best agents in the game, because I'm kind of surprised. I don't begrudge him it. I just don't think it's the right move for West Ham United. I would like to have seen, another striker come in, mid-20s, something like that. Someone who's a bit of a tank that can do what Antonio does. It kind of means now we're going to have to rely on him for the next season and a half or so. I don't know. Good evening, AT. I hope you're well. Kudus and Mavropanos have to start on Thursday. I totally agree. And I will come to that a bit later on in the show. Mark, when Alvarez had to be replaced, there was no one on the bench to cover. Sojek is not suitable defensive midfielder. Kehrer could have been given a go there as cover for Alvarez. Yes, maybe. I know he was tried out there once or twice. I'm not 100% sure. People have talked about Kehrer being like a defensive midfielder before the season started. We did have Connor Coventry. I don't know if he was on the bench. I know he played for the under-21, so maybe he wasn't. But you're right. We don't have a player like Alvarez. And how important has Alvarez become all of a sudden? I did say before the start of the season, if we don't sign any player, all we need is a defensive midfielder, because that will change the way we play. He's been superb. Good evening to you, Foxes. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, old man. I hope you're well, mate. Rani. Antonio 1 year, no biggie. And if it raises his fee, it's a good move. Who knows? Maybe West Ham starting to try and be smart for a change. Well, yes, they are. I think the contract situation is slowly changing, but nonetheless, maybe we should have a policy, much like quite a few Premier League teams, where we don't give players any longer contracts once they've turned 30. I think there's one or two clubs, I can't remember who, that would, they might give them a year at a time. Look, he's been fantastic, and I don't want to put him down in any way, shape, or form, because I even admitted that at the start of the season, he was like, wow, this is the Antonio of yesteryear. The way he started the first 4 games. I don't think he was that great on Saturday against Liverpool, but the first 4 games of the season, he started off superbly well. But did it deserve an extended contract? I don't know. Black Country, to usual. Yes, mate. Fine. Everyone's saying hello. I hope you're all well. Thanks for all chatting to each other. You go ahead. Are in Paralimni. That's where I stay. Going to be 31 for the, you bastard. I'm sure I read it's gonna piss down with rain tomorrow for the next 3 weeks. Paralimni's lovely, mate. I hope you enjoy it. It's a lovely part of the islands. Hammerit, could be trying to get a fee for Antonio next season with that extra year. Yeah, exactly. I think, if I want to put some logic to it, I think that could be it. It could be that in order to give him that 1 year extension, if we go and sell him in next summer, we'll get, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 million for him, something like that. Usual, Daniela, is it true that 20,000 tickets unsold? But yes, it's not going to be a full stadium for the first Europa League game. What a shame, really. Steve, if Antonio is still our striker next season, embarrassing. Yeah, this is kind of not embarrassing, but it's kind of like, let's move forward. Surely there's got to be a player out there that's got similar traits to Antonio. I know a couple of seasons ago, one of the players that did slip through our grasp was Darwin Núñez, who now plays for Liverpool. I remember when I did a review on him when we were interested in him, and I said, look, there's not that many players out there that can do the Antonio style of football, but he's one of them. And I think he would have suited us. What a shame we didn't get him. But then I guess, at that time we were struggling with relegation. Oh, no, we weren't. We were doing quite well in the league and we went for him. That's the season when we finished 6th. Charles, Soufal got roasted all game and at halftime he should have been subbed off for Kera. He did. And I can't disagree. He did it. He did well. He tried his best. He tried to contain Dooku as much as he could in the first half. But boy, oh boy, he came out of the blocks pretty quick, Dooku, didn't he? Only thing about Mumbama is he isn't quick and still needs to learn to hold it up. And for me, would play better in the front too. Quite possibly. And maybe we might see him play on Thursday, get some game time on Thursday. But he's raw. He's rough. He's not the finished article. So, but giving him 5-10 minutes at the end of the game, he's going to run his heart out. With the greatest of respect to Danny Ings, he can't do it, can he? Every time we see Ings come on, we go, well, we're going to slow down because Ings doesn't have that pace, and we know he can't play one up front on his own. Daniela, I'd rather have Pablo Fornals signing new contract. Well, that's another rumor, isn't it? That apparently Fornals has turned down all offers of a new contract. So it looks like he could be leaving at the end of the season. Otherwise, we might try and get a few quid for him in January. An absolute shame, but I guess he's looking after his family as well as himself. Hammerit, I predict Ings will be sold in January. Bowen, Kudos, and possibly Mumbama will cover in the striker role. I think we did try to sell Ings. Quite a few players we tried to sell. Ings, Cornet in the summer window. We just didn't have any takers. So if we've got takers, yes, he'll go. Chris, Antonio's too inconsistent, has a couple of blinding games, but then goes walkabout for the next day. That's the concern, to be quite honest with you, Chris. You're absolutely correct there. He's fantastic. The first 4 games of the season, he's been absolutely superb. And then he does have that lull, doesn't he? And it might be, I hope this isn't the start of that lull, against Man City. I'm looking, he'll start against Liverpool at the weekend. Pretty certain of it. He'll get a rest in the game against TSC on Thursday. So he'll be fresh and he'll start on Sunday. Hopefully that will give him the pick-me-up. But having said that, we've had 2 weeks off, haven't we, for international duty? So it's not as if he's been busting a gut. He didn't get picked for the Jamaican squad. Andy, Antonio's purple patch was the 2 weeks before the window closed. Then the window closes and old Brentwood doorman Antonio returns as the pressure's off him. Yeah, I see the cynicism and I laugh, but in a way you kind of think to yourself, has he done enough to get what he wants? And now we're not going to see him in action until maybe Christmas or something. Daniela, usual, was that from the auction we have for 5 games? It's 15. There's a lot of money to spend. I didn't understand. Sorry, you're replying to usual. Martin, fed up with the same old. We needed a striker 3 years ago. Why give Antonio a new contract? It's an odd one. Jack, I hope you're well, mates. I haven't seen you for a while. That's all for the time being. Any news on the Greek away game and bans on away fans? No, it's going ahead. I genuinely thought, as I said to you, that I didn't think they were going to allow fans to go, but it seems, it's going ahead. So we're just now waiting for our ticket allocation, so we can start all booking flight. I know you probably already booked yours, haven't you? Hammerit, fancy a bit of the beast as a 60-minute sub for knackered defenders. That's probably what he should be playing right now if we had an alternative striker. I'm waiting for the day when Moyes starts playing Kudush and Bowen in the same lineup, because that way you probably will see Antonio coming on as a sub more than anything else. Old man, Benny was awful on Saturday. Awful. I mean, he came on to be an impact sub. He gave the ball away so many times. It's like, oh, mate, come on. Fight for your place in the team, for goodness sake. Hammer it. Think Cornet will start on the left on Thursday. Interesting. Hold that thought because I'll come back to that in a moment. Andy, Cornet wasn't even on the bench on Saturday. I think he was. I'm pretty certain he was. I'll double check it, but I think he was. But no, he wasn't given any game time, though. Chris, should have tried to get the youngsters some game time in the League Cup would be ideal. I think quite possibly, I think you'll see one or two youngsters on the bench on Thursday, and depending on how the result goes, you might see one or two of them come on later on in the game. Good evening to you, Jason. How are you? Is Antonio signing the deal in case Middle East comes in with an offer next season rather than let him go on a free, get money in? Yeah, that's what other people have said. And I think that's quite possibly the reason. So we've signed him. It means that he's not going to be end of contract at the end of 2024. He's now got a contract till 2025 with an option of a further year. And I think that might be it. You've got to put some logic into it. And quite possibly that's why. So then, if a club does come in for him, whether at home or abroad, at least we've got him on a contract, which means we'll get a few quid for him. Sharky, thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for that. Epic, good evening to you. Can't have a good season when we struggle to score from open play. We have nothing if JWP gets injured. I don't know. We scored a few goals in open play so far this season. It hasn't just been set pieces. I'm glad we've got set piece goals coming back. But the goal we scored at the weekend, what a superb goal. That's the kind of counter-attacking play where it excites us. We won the ball back. Soufal got the ball. Great cross. And of all the people, JWP, what's he doing there? Diving header. I mean, we have scored quite a few decent goals this season in open play. There's the goal that Bowen scored against Luton when Paqueta crossed it into the box. That was another header as well. So we have. But I think with JW Ward-Prowse coming in, I think it's given us that momentum again, scoring in set pieces too. But you're absolutely right. We can't just rely on set pieces only. Who else have we got here? Andy again. City, 29 attempts to our 6. But for Areola, we could have been 8 or 9-2 in the end. Sadly, they are a massive class apart. I know, I saw that stat. The stat that surprised me, like I said, was that we had 33% possession. But then you saw the opportunities, the chance they had, 29 attempts to our 6 when we're at home, I guess isn't great. But Areola, he's been superb this season for me. He's absolutely deserved his place in the starting lineup. I'm really, really pleased for him. And he pulled off 10 saves in that game. Fucking hell. Graham, it was good to see Moyes trying to make changes in the second half, so perhaps he has started to learn. Well, that's the other thing. When I talk about the game a little bit later on, I'm going to talk about that because he's trying to be positive. What a shame that we got an injury right at the time he was going to make changes. Ian, Moyes will probably try so check up front. Don't give him ideas. Lee, hi, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you very much. Yes, if you're new to the channel, do hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification because it does help the channel. So that'd be lovely. Thank you. Good evening to you, Fred. I hope you're well, mate. Rani, sick of this only score set piece thing. 10 goals scored from 3 set piece. No, exactly that. Exactly that. We have only scored a few goals from set pieces. We have scored from open play as well, which is really, really good. Daniela, Everton want Ings, but I don't think they wanted to go. I don't blame him with Europa. Well, now that they've been bought out, I wonder if they're really going to want Ings. I don't know what this consortium is. Another American consortium. Let's see what they're going to do there. At the time, I genuinely thought Everton would have been a club that might go down. That might have just saved them, that consortium buyout. Stephen, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, Aaron. I'm 15 minutes behind. Didn't expect to see. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have come on at 9 o'clock and also on time. I hope you're well, Aaron. Mark, Stella, is it true we've already spent the second tranche of the rice fee due to be paid next summer? Well, I don't know how it all works because you always get you never get all the money up front. You get it in tranches, and apparently we borrowed money, so probably not. We borrowed more money. We always have a cash flow situation. Most football clubs have. Don't worry, it's not just West Ham United. So we've gone and we've refinanced our loan deal. We've moved away from Dell and we've gone to Barclays Bank, I think, because the interest rate is better. And in order to have that cash flow, I don't know if we spend the second tranche, because then you could argue, what about the money from last season, etc., etc. I don't know the answer, but even if we have, look, there are players going to come and go. We know who's going to be next summer. Paqueta is going to be the next one that's going to be sold for a decent profit, and we will have that money in the bank anyway. So, have we spent the money, the second tranche? I don't know. Is the honest answer to you. But that leads me on to, let's talk about transfers for a minute, because I think we've had so much nonsense and we've barely started the season, and the transfer window has barely shut, the summer transfer window, when we're getting all this news again. Now, who saw Paqueta embracing Guardiola just before the start of kickoff on Saturday? Bit weird, to be really honest with you. But of course, the rumour mill's spreading. Oh, well, he's in for him. He's going to buy him in January. And if he ain't going to buy him, Newcastle are going to come in and buy him in January. They're going to offer us £52 million to get Paqueta. Why would we accept £52 million for Paqueta from Newcastle when Man City made an offer of £70 million, which we turned down earlier this summer? Look, don't get embroiled in all the transfer rumours. I just think it's silly. We need to focus on the football. And you're going to hear, when it's slow news time, you're going to hear of transfers and takeovers, because there's no other news to talk about, until the next transfer window opens. I think what really gets me sometimes is not a day goes by at West Ham United that where a player is linked to leaving the club. Every time we've got a decent player on our hands, the newspapers and social media are desperate for that player to be sold. It happened for the last 3-4 seasons with Declan Rice. Every day we heard Declan's going, Declan, until he went. And I thought, in a way, finally, that Declan circus is over. We can now settle down and think about football rather than worrying about transfers. Oh, no, of course that ain't going to happen. Paqueta is one of them. You're going to hear a story almost every other day that Paqueta is either going to be linked to Newcastle or he's going to be linked back to Man City. Look, I think Paqueta will go. He will go next summer. I'm pretty certain of it. I think, we already know he's got an £85 million buyout clause in his contract. If someone triggers that, he's gone. And we know that. And just as I was asked about by Mark about have we spent the money on the Declan on the second tranche of the Declan money, it will be replenished by other players going. And Paqueta will be the next major player that will leave, and we'll get a pretty penny for him. But don't listen to them between now and the January transfer window. It's just nonsense, just to fill up social media. Because the other one, of course, is that David Moyes is finished with Aguerd, and he wants to sell him as well. Look, Nayef Aguerd turned down a few deals over summer because he felt indebted to West Ham United because we stuck with him after he got his injury when he signed for us, and he feels he feels indebted to the club. Look, if we got an offer for him, 50 odd million pounds, would we sell him? Yes, we would. And we need to get used to that. But again, the transfer story is already circulating that Moyes is fed up with him after the latest mistake, etc. He wants to sell him. David Moyes has said, it's taken me 2 years to get Nayef Aguerd at West Ham United. Do you think after one season he's going to let him go? I doubt it. Let's see what happens in the summertime. But you're going to start hearing an awful lot of stories about Aguerd and about Paqueta between now and January. I guarantee you they'll be plastered all over the place that we're going to sell both these players in the January transfer window. And then, of course, we're also going to sell Jarrod Bowen, aren't we? Because he hasn't signed a new contract. Another load of garbage, really. Look, Jarrod Bowen, as it stands, is loving his time at West Ham United at the moment. He's said it. He's said it in interviews, etc. He's talked about how we're back to playing our best way, playing to our strengths and so on. And he will sign a contract. I'm so confident. I put a bet on with someone at the weekend that, he will sign a contract, because the person said to me, I guarantee you he won't. So we've got a tenner's bet on it. So I'm that confident that he will. It will be the right contract for him, but I'm sure he will. But you're going to hear constant stories. Bowen is going to Liverpool. Aguerd is going because David Moyes doesn't want him anymore. And Paqueta is either going to Newcastle or Man City. Better to just focus on the football between now and next summer. None of them are going anywhere in January. You can forget that. And I would be very, very surprised if we lose 2 of them next summer either. I'm pretty certain Bowen will stay. Now, people are saying Bowen doesn't want to stay because of the style of football that we're playing. He's fed up with it, and so on and so forth. You know, Jared Bowen, these are his words. What Moyes has done for the club doesn't get enough credit. The players respect the manager. Everyone has bought into his ways. This is the player talking about the manager, and he said that the manager himself doesn't get the credit that he deserves. You look at, someone said earlier, I think it was Daniela, you know, the last few years we've had 6th place, 7th place, semi-final of a European competition, finalists and winners of a competition. What's not to like? Jared Bowen has said, I love scoring goals. And the setup that we have at the moment, he's scoring goals. He's scoring goals pretty regular. He's going to break a record. If he scores against Liverpool, he'll break a record at West Ham for scoring in 4 away games in a row or something like that. You know, what's not to like? He will sign a contract so long as the contract's right for him. But all these rumours, like you kind of think when the transfer window shuts, you kind of think, thank God for that. You know, now we can focus on the football. Not so, because social media, newspapers keep telling us, yeah, this player's going to leave, that player's going to leave. Every time we get a good footballer at West Ham, he's immediately linked to going elsewhere. Now, is that a compliment to West Ham United, or is that just a hindrance? You know, something that we get distracted by. I think the fan base, to be quite honest with you, gets an awful lot of. They get distracted by it. They, you know, like, and then the rumours come out. Oh, of course he's leaving because we're shit and we don't like Moyes and don't like this style of football, etc. Rubbish. Look what Bowen has said about the manager. What Moyes has done for the club doesn't get enough credit. The players respect the manager. Everyone's bought into his ways. Now, you could argue, if you're a cynic, oh, well, of course he's going to say that. He's not going to say anything derogatory. Well, you know what? We've heard an awful lot of derogatory rumours about what players have said behind closed doors. Maybe a lot of it is well, maybe quite a bit of it is a lot of bullshit, you know, and it fits a certain rhetoric that, you know, we can only listen to the doom and gloom and we can't listen to the good stuff. I believe what Bowen said, and I don't believe he would have said that but under duress or force. I think he really believes that. He really believes that it's a good time at West Ham. He really believes in the manager, and he said the players are bought into David Moyes' style of football. We as fans, okay, we want to be entertained. We may not always like that style of football, but it's been effective so far. Right. I hope that's scuppered. I don't know. You might have more questions or more comments, but I hope that scuppered the whole rumours thing about us selling all our good players overnight. Good evening, Mr. Duffus. How are you? Trenny, I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I would start Cornet left back on Saturday. He played there before with Benny in front of neat games. Yeah, Cornet is a strange one about Cornet. Apparently, we're managing Cornet carefully. He had a very rare injury to, what was it, his calf. I know he played 60 odd minutes when he played for the Ivory Coast, but I think there's kind of a concern. We did try to sell Cornet to a club, and when they saw his injury record, they said no. I'm not going to tell you who that club was. Juha, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Don't worry, I'm usually late, so good of you lot to turn up late for a change. Trini, who cares how the goals come as long as we have more than the opposition at the end? Well, true. Whether it be set pieces, whether it be open play, so long as we're scoring. Rani, don't know about Great Cross. I think JWP made it look a better ball than it was. Great finish from the lad. Well, you know, he managed to find. I'm usually Soufal doesn't cross the ball at all, or doesn't get past the first player. So I'll give him a bit of credit. Jack, I don't think Cornet should be put at left back. Don't get me wrong. We tried that with Antonio a few seasons back. Right back, I think he was awful and it was unfair. I know Cornet has played that. It's not as if it'll be an experiment. He has played in that position before. So you know, could happen. Left wing back, maybe. Left wing back. And he played that for the Ivory Coast as well. Good evening to you, Si. I hope you're well. I think Antonio's been playing. Yeah, no, I'm not saying he hasn't. I don't think he had a great game at the weekend, but I agree. I think, you know, I said it. I praised him. I think he has. He's been playing very well at the beginning of the season. Ariola made 10 saves, brilliant, deserves a clean sheet. You know, I feel that's the thing I feel sorry for him about. He hasn't had a clean sheet yet, has he? Trini, Thursday I can see Creswell getting sneaked back in. It's going to be interesting on the left side. It really will be. Mr. Duffus, Ings won't go anywhere. He's quite happy sat on his arse on 125 grand a week. Well, no, yeah, good point. Yeah, why should he? He's got another year and a half left on his contract, something like that. Adam, do people watch the game saying we only score from set pieces? We score some blinding goals. We have scored some blinding goals from open play. How far behind am I? Not too bad. Fred, Stel, was Moyes really going to bring on Souček before? Yes, he was. Yes. I'll tell you what. Okay, seeing as we're talking about game, let's go into the game. I'll give you my thoughts. So I'm going to scroll down to the other part of my script. Give me a second. So let's talk about the game, because yes, he was going to bring on, he was going to take off Souček. So now look, when I did my initial reaction to the game on Saturday afternoon, like I said earlier on the show, I came across as a little bit negative, and I felt a bit pissed off with myself because I was a bit down. We lost, but I think having an unbeaten run in the first 4 games was unprecedented for West Ham. Our best start to the Premier League, any Premier League season. And so coming out, I think what really sort of brought me down a little bit was the 3-1 result. I don't think we deserved, the history books will show we got beat 3-1, and people will go, fuck me, West Ham must have been shit. And that, far from it, absolutely far from it. I think we played an awful lot better than people give us credit for. I just think we just faced, like I said earlier on, the best domestic football team in the world at the moment. They are absolutely superb. They grind you down, Man City. And all this stuff that's been talked about in terms of, West Ham sat back, etc., etc. Not so. There's a difference between, like we have done in the past, where you sit deep and allowing the opposition to come at you. The difference between that and what happened on Saturday was that just Man City just don't let go of the ball. The few times that we did get it, we didn't make the most of it. We gave it away quite a few times throughout the game when we did get it, but the occasion when we did get it and break, like the goal that we scored, we saw that we could do it. The difference is we didn't sit back. We didn't try to contain Man City. We just couldn't get the effing ball off them, and they grind you down until they find that opportunity, or as in our case, an error that led to their second goal. People are saying, oh, look, there you go, the bubbles burst, West Ham back to what they were and all that sort of stuff. I'm not so sure. I don't think, I don't think we got the credit that we deserve in the way we played. Look, had, for example, the Zuma header, fantastic save by their goalie in the second half. Had that gone in, had Antonio had a better touch at 1-1 when the ball was played out to him, and all he had to do was shrug off the defender, beat the keeper, but he just nicked it a bit too far in front, which gave the keeper every opportunity to save it. Had those two situations been different, we could have gone 2-1 up, and the game could have been very different again. Look, we were warned, throughout the whole first half. We saw it because it was down our side. I'm in the Bobby Moore lower. So their left winger, Doku, was right in front of us. And we were warned throughout the whole of the first half, this guy's going to skin Soufal alive. And Bowen tried to sort of defend. And every time Bowen came closer to try and defend alongside Soufal, Doku kept finding, a ball through the middle of them or to the side of them where a player was supporting. And, we were warned. And then straight into the second half, what happened? He got the ball. 1-1. And then, yes, the question that I was asked just a moment ago, was Moyes going to take Souček off? Souček was called. Souček coming off, and Antonio was coming off for Benrahma and Kudus. And then we saw that the game was delayed for quite some time. And we saw there was a player down. And of all the players it was Alvarez. He was down. Now, thankfully, it was only cramp. It was sort of muscle cramp, and he's going to be fine moving forward. But he said, just jet lag, etc. He couldn't continue, and that did change the game for us. It absolutely did, because what Moyes had to do, he could have either not put Benny and Kudus on, and maybe brought on, I don't know, maybe Kehrer sooner or something like that. Or he stuck with his guns. He wanted to go all out attacking. I think he could see that, if we nick the ball back again with the break of play, with Kudus there, etc., we could have hurt them. But the problem is, Alvarez got injured. He had to go off, and then Moyes had to shuffle the pack. He put Souček in Alvarez's position, as someone said, it's not his rightful position, and that kind of exposed us a little bit. And then, of course, the error. The error sort of gave it away. I mean, Aguerd, he's made a few mistakes, hasn't he, this season? The lunge where he got sent off earlier in the season, and then this, it was a schoolboy error to allow it to bounce over his head the way it did. And then that was game over, really, the minute they went 2-1 up. But I think we deserve credit for the sort of game that we played. So, yes, Fred, yes, he was definitely taking Souček off, and then Alvarez got injured, and then he had to take Alvarez off instead. Look, some of the other things. Look, Moyes, I think, wanted to go for it, like I said, at 1-1. He wanted to bring on 2 attacking players. Fair play to him. He waited 6 minutes before he could bring them on, because that's how long it was taking with the ball being in play, etc. I think they had a couple of corners, and you never make a substitution when you're under attack in a corner. So I did think he wanted to go for it. I think he saw a possibility there that we could have hurt them, breaking, doing the counter attack with the likes of Kudus and his pace, Benrahma, etc. I think he saw an opportunity there. I think Areola, as we've already mentioned, I think he's been fantastic. Pulling off the saves that he did has been absolutely superb for us. This save, for example, right in front of Haaland, straight in, and he's smothered the ball. He's been a superb player, and I think he's been great for us. I think Kudus has made an encouraging half an hour. I think you could see what he's going to be made of. Bit more game time, and I think he will start playing. Going to be interesting who he's going to replace, but I think he will start starting a few games as well. In the half hour he was on the pitch, he played 3 different positions. He started out on the right hand side, and Bowen came into the middle, and then he moved into the middle, sort of in midfield, and then he went up front as well. So he's a versatile player, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of him. I think Moyes could have been a little less stubborn with Fornals. I'm surprised that Fornals didn't get a bit of game time. That could have been a sort of game where Fornals' energy in the middle of the park could have been quite useful. Like I said earlier, Soufal, admirable to try and fend off Dooku. But, as people said, should Kehrer have started, or should he have come on sooner? Maybe, but then we know, with the greatest of respect to Kehrer, he also, sometimes has an error in him as well. Look, I think I saw enough in that game to tell me that it's not going to be a bad season. Yes, we are going to lose games. Most teams do. But I don't think it's going to... I don't believe in what people are saying. It's back to Moyes' normal style. Like I said earlier, there's a massive, massive difference between just sitting back and defending, and just not being able to get the ball off a very, very good football team. So I think that we've got encouragement. I think there's encouragement. I think Moyes most certainly is going to be starting to look at using Kudus a bit more, I think, which is a good thing as well. And that only bodes well, doesn't it, for the rest of the season. Right, let's go back into your chat. Hammer it. With Kudus in, we may not miss Paqueta as much as we may think. Should he get a ban or sold? Yeah, quite possible. They are different players, though. Yeah, Kudus could play a little bit deeper, but he's sort of better off more forward. I kept saying I think he's the replacement to Antonio going forward. Let's see. Mr. Duffus, there's a buyout clause of 85 million for Pac-Man. Absolutely. So this rubbish that you're hearing at the moment, that apparently we're going to sell him, or Newcastle are making a 52 million pound bid. Where do they think that's going to go? In all honesty, how do they honestly think that we're going to sort of go, oh yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, you can have him 52 million when we turn down 70. Rani, he was telling him what minute to get on for the yellow. Trini, anyone who wants him will have to pay at least 85 million. That's our valuation. Usual. Everton are a football disaster at the moment. They might be a football saviour as it stands. Black Country. Next summer's release clause, 85 million. Exactly that. Charles, do you think Moyes will get a new contract? I hope not. I don't know. That's going to be a massive question. I don't think the club will make any decision until January. I think they're going to see what the first half of the season brings us, and then they might make a decision. It won't surprise me. I know we as fans want to be entertained, and I get all that, etc., etc. It will not surprise me if we're doing well between now and January. We're kind of there or thereabouts, the top half of the league, doing well in Europe. I pretty much expect us to get through our European group. It will not surprise me if he does get a new contract. Old man. Paqueta will go if we don't get bought out. Well, that's another thing. This whole getting bought out, it's gone quiet again, hasn't it? Where are the Qataris? Have they disappeared? What's going on? They still haven't bought Man United. So what's happening? I don't know. I know I say never, but I think that Qatari story has been going on for a lot longer than we care to think about. Billy Bob, I've gently pressed the like button. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Hammer it. Can't believe the Aguerd rumour. Moyes won't let him go while he's still here, seeing as he spent years. Exactly that. It's taken him, Moyes has said, it's taken us 2 years to get this player in. We've been tracking him for 2 years. Why would he let him go now? Unless he completely falls out of favour and his form just goes to pot. Chris, I tend not to listen to transfer rumours unless the window's open. Guess what? I tend not to listen to them now, even when the window is open. Paul, City don't even need Paqueta. Had 4 key players missing on Saturday. Makes no difference. Just buy any class player from the Brent. Bring any. Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. Hammer answering to usual. Always need something to laugh about. Wan-Bissaka now for months with hammy injury. Just gets better. Man United. Imagine being a Man United fan. Mr. Duffus, love Bowen, but if he won't sign a contract, F him off. We have a ready-made replacement in Kudus. We do have a ready-made replacement in Kudus. But this is what I mean about believing the rubbish that's out there. I am, all right, I'll probably eat my hat if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain he's going to sign a new contract with West Ham United. He's loving life at West Ham, not only on the pitch. Let's not forget what's going on off it as well. You know, he's loving life at West Ham. He loves West Ham United. You know, the way he talks about it, the way he talks about the club, the manager, etc. He's loving his time there. Why would he want to move? You know, and I think this whole thing about, you know, oh, maybe not getting an England place unless he plays for Liverpool. We've had some class players over the years who have played for England and playing for West Ham United. We've even had one of the best central midfielders in the world in Trevor Brooking was playing in the old when we got relegated. He was still being picked for England. So I think if Bowen continues with his form, he'll eventually get picked by Southgate. Maybe. Ian, Premier League turning into that Super League that people at the top want. Not far off it, mate. Another couple of Americans picking off Premier League clubs, and you're going to have, you know, they're going to push it, don't you? Black Country, Aguerd for Slabhead January transfer window. We've got Mavropanos as well. Let's not forget that. Let's scroll down. Paul, Slabhead don't get into the team, now have Mavro. Exactly. I want to see Mavropanos. I'm pretty sure we're going to see him on Thursday. Sharky, does anyone think Mbama will start up front on Thursday? No. I would like to see him in starting lineup. So would I. And I'll come to what's the lineup and everything and about the team that we're going to be playing in a moment. Hammer, shows how much we're progressing as a team with other clubs bidding good money and trying to get many of our players. It does. It is a compliment, but it's also a distraction, to be quite honest with you. Hammer it again. Shows how, oh, you said that twice, Hammer it. Mark, the good thing is that we now have Tim to find replacements for any players that leave. Very good point. Very good point. Now, I know. Look, of the 4 signings we got, you can only credit him with one, in all honesty. And that, of course, was Mavropanos. We haven't seen him in action yet, but I'm excited by him. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to produce. Look, Tim is going out there. He's selling West Ham. You know, he's telling the agents and the players, this is where you need to be. This is where it's going to be at moving forward. I think that's fantastic. Good evening, Peter. I hope you're well. I feel better now after the run. I didn't drink that much. Rani, we've only been placed better than 5 times in the Premier League, twice under Moyes, and back-to-back top 7 finishes for the first time, along with our shiny cup. I know, but people still want him gone. Lee, why the F are we buying all these class players that do well for us? Then these big clubs come in for them. When are we going to stand up and say, no, this is where mid-table, this is why we're mid-table. Now, be prepared, because one of the traits of Tim Steiden is to buy players, get them nurtured. We're going to follow the Brighton route. You know, buy players, bring them in. They do well. We sell them for a profit. So long as, and as someone has just pointed out, now that we've got Tim Steidten to replace the players, that's the bit that's always been missing in the past. We have a good player at West Ham United, we sell that player, and then we don't have a ready-made replacement. What we're hoping that Steiden's going to do is bridge that gap, that bit at the end. So when we do buy a player that turns out to be fantastic, when we do sell them for a big profit, Steidten or the conglomerate of whoever's in the doing transfers, Mark Noble, Steidten, etc. We've got ready-made players to come in and replacement. Get used to it, Lee. I think that's going to be the future blueprint for our transfer policy. Ronnie, the football might be hard to watch, but we're more successful now than we ever have been in the Premier League. So I'll ask you the question. Someone said, do you think Moyes is going to get a contract? I hope not. I'll ask you the question. Is he doing well enough? I know I kind of asked it last week, and it's a more fairer question to ask come halfway through the season. But what we've seen so far, what we've seen in the last sort of 3 or 4 years under Moyes, would you let him sign? Would you give him a new contract? Hammerit, I was impressed by our performance on Saturday. Not the result, but we wanted. Not result we wanted, but the way we played was far more attacking than usual. Put a less capable keeper between the sticks and we would have had a couple. Yeah, exactly. Like I said earlier, Zuma, great header, fantastic save. If Antonio didn't sort of miscontrol the ball when it broke, he might have been able to score as well. And I think that's what Moyes saw. The reason why Moyes wanted to make those attacking changes is because he noticed, look, when we're on the break, we can do something here. Antonio wasn't on the ball on Saturday. It wasn't his best game. And I got why Moyes wanted to make the changes. All credit to Moyes. On 60 minutes, he wanted to make 2 attacking changes rather than doing his usual of like bringing another defender on and defending the 1-1 draw. Michael, good evening to you. Bowen is blowing smoke. Alvarez, Kudus and Paqueta will be off in the summer. It appears that we're a feeder club for the big boys. Nothing will ever change. I totally disagree. I genuinely totally disagree. I think Bowen's been playing really well. I think he scored, 3 or 4 goals already this season. Alvarez, Kudus and Paqueta are off. Paqueta will go. I don't think Kudus or Alvarez will go, to be quite honest with you, because what we'll do is we'll build around them. Look, like I said a moment ago to Lee, we're going to look like a feeder club in the future under Tim Steidten. We are going to follow the Brighton sort of model. But the difference, as I said a moment ago, is in the past, we didn't have ready-made replacements. What we're going to be doing now is, under Tim Steiden's guidance, etc., is we'll be getting players in so that when we do sell a player to a bigger team, we've got a player coming in. Look at Matt, look at Brighton, look at Mitoma, for example. Who did they sell? Whoever it was they sold that was out on the left. Mitoma came in better than the player than they sold. In the middle of the park, better players, etc. Every time they sell a player for a big profit, they get another player that just walks in. It's almost as if like carry on where we left off. And that's where we want to be. Now, does that mean nothing will change and we'll stay a mid-table team? I don't know. If we can continue building and getting good players in on a regular churn, then why not do better? Look how well Brighton are doing. I wouldn't mind that kind of Brighton model, to be quite honest with you, but we would have to accept that the players that we get in, will probably be sold after a season or 2. Now, Bowen, I think Bowen's all right. I think he's doing well this season. Alvarez and Kudus, I think they'll stay. I think Paqueta, yeah, he'll go. He'll go next summer without a shadow of a doubt. Mark, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Rani, with hindsight, could have moved Aguerd to central defensive midfield and brought Oggy on when Alvarez went off. Yeah, I actually would have expected even Mavropanos to come on and maybe sort of go with 3 at the back in order to shore up the defence a little bit with the fact that we did lose Alvarez. Yeah, but Moyes wanted to go for it. Moyes wanted to do what we've all been saying for him to do. Go for it. Don't sit back. He brought on 2 attacking players. Kind of a mistake against Man City, but all credit for him for trying, but it did kind of loses the game. Trini, I never get why fans get so miffed about losing against top teams. Any points we get against them is a bonus. I don't want us to just sort of lay down and die when we're playing against these teams. Look, and I think we did give them a pretty decent game, but like I said earlier, they're a fantastic footballing team. Let's scroll down a bit. Black Country. Okay, still question. If he gets injured, Alvarez, who replaces him? Difficult to say. I genuinely, when I'm looking at the squad, I find it difficult to know who will put there. I kind of wouldn't mind Fornals, to be quite honest with you. All right, Fornals is should be more of an attacking central midfielder, but he's going to sort of run hard. Is he the sort of player that we want as a defensive midfielder? Probably not. People have mentioned Kehrer, maybe, quite possibly. But you're right. I mean, it's difficult. If Alvarez does get injured, I think that's going to be a big miss for us. We've got Connor Coventry, but I just don't think he's really up to it. So maybe Moyes is going to have to experiment. Maybe Moyes will have to say, I'll try Kehrer in there, or I'll try maybe packing the midfield out with a 3 or something like that. But good question. It's a difficult one to answer because I'll be really, really honest with you. I don't know as it stands. Let's scroll down. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well. Andy. Moyes has come out and said regarding Dinos and Kudus are nowhere near ready for the Premier League as starters still. Yet Doku has played 2 games starting for City. I hate that when Moyes does that. And I know that winds people up. It does wind me up as well because you look at is Doku any better than Kudus? Kudus is meant to be one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe, apparently, or one of the upcoming attacking midfielders in Europe. Is he any better than Doku? I don't know. Give him a bit of game time. I think we might see a very similar kind of player. So I do get annoyed with that. I think Mavropanos is ready. I think even the Greek national manager has said that. Gus Poyet, he said he's ready for the Premier League. Kudus, he did well on Saturday, but I think it will take him a little bit longer. But the only way to know how good a player is going to be is you give him game time. Good evening to you, Kevin. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Jason, I only saw the first half, however, played some really good football against the best league team. Yeah, we did play some really good football. Chris, City are probably the best club side in the world. Remember, they did treble last season. Yeah, absolutely. So the weekend's game wasn't such a bad result. Don't think so-called big sides will get many points from City. I absolutely agree with you. Totally. I think there's not going to be that many teams that are going to get a lot of joy playing Manchester City this season. They just look better than they did last season. Good evening, Peter. I hope you're well. James, how many would tag Ten Hag? Take Ten Hag if he leaves Man United? Well, he's not exactly doing great shakes there, is he? I mean, player fallouts and arguments and players not respecting him, and he's been too harsh with players. Don't know. Evening, Ian. I hope you're well. I hope Dino gets a start on Thursday alongside Kudus. I do too, and I think they both will. Andrew, watch Leverkusen versus Bayern. They were brilliant and should have won. Alonso is the manager to take us on another level. But Alonso has signed a new long-term deal at Leverkusen. Good evening, Jonathan. I hope you're well. I watched an interesting video on tactics of Brighton against Man United. I would love to play them. We have the personnel. Not sure how defense tactics is working. How defense tactics is working with that many chances, mate. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to rewrite that. I didn't quite get your point. My apologies. Brian, good evening to you. Stel, am I the only one that noticed Antonio's unhappy? No, you weren't. I had that in my notes. He looked pissed off. He's going to have to effing well get used to it, because I made a point of that. I think on my when I did the review at the weekend, when he came off, he looked utterly pissed off. What on earth does he expect? I think it worries me. That's why I was really surprised to be told today that he's signing a new deal. He's a squad. It's a squad. It's a squad game. He's a squad player. He's 33 years of age, and as much as he's been playing well at the beginning of this season, he's got to realise that there are going to be games where he either doesn't start or he gets pulled off when he's not producing. And you're absolutely right, Brian. He came off, he looked pissed off. And I don't know what his problem is, to be quite honest with you. Because if he starts he did this when we signed, what's his name last season, the Italian player, and Scamacca. And he wasn't happy that Scamacca was taking his place. It is possible. It is possible, like I said earlier in the show, that Kudus and Bowen could start games as the season goes on, and maybe Antonio drops to the bench. He's going to have to just get used to it. It is the way it is. He's got no divine right whatsoever to think of himself as a starter and not even being subbed as well. You're right, Brian. Evening, Jerry. I hope you're well. Just saw another great performance by officials at Forest. I thought the referee was poor on Saturday. Lucky he never had a say on the result. I didn't really notice the referee much, to be honest, apart from the fact that he gave him an awful lot of free kicks, but didn't give us many. Aaron, what happened tonight then? I don't know. The difference between listening to you and Claret and Booze is amazing. You're so positive where they are just purely negative. Each to their own. I can't speak about other channels. We all have our own styles, but I can't be half class empty. I'm not that way inclined. Mind you speak to my mates at the games and they might tell you otherwise. But you've got to try and see the positive in things. I don't know. There's no. I don't get. We can all have our say. I think that's good. And people, there's a lot of people on here that always disagree with me, and I don't have a problem with that. They see West Ham United in a very different light to the way I see them. But you've got to try and take positives out of everything, haven't you, Aaron? Otherwise, life is too gloomy as it is. You go to, when you go to football matches, you meet your mates, you have a drink, you have a laugh, and sometimes the game spoils it. Look at it that way. Andrew, hopefully Tim's already had that conversation with Alonso. Well, he's already signed a new deal. But, deals are there to be broken. Contracts are there to be broken. Ray, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Hammerit, flew out to Milan, flew out to Milan for Champions League and broken UEFA rules for arriving late for pre-match conference. Weather permitting, apparently. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. I'm sure you're talking to someone in the chat. Garino. I live in Milan and there have been weather alerts due to thunderstorm. Oh, we had our thunderstorms last night. Didn't keep me up. Mr. Doofus. Souček 4 years, Antonio 3 years. Course Moyes will bet a new contract. Souček 4 years. Look, Souček 4 years, and it ain't Antonio 3 more years. It's been added another year to what he already had a year. So I guess that's 2 with an option of another. All right, 3. But I can only think that, if we sell them, we'll get some money back, as people have said before, because they've got slightly longer contracts. Jerry, I thought Paqueta was trying to show Pep what he's missing. Didn't do that well, to be quite honest with you. Some of it came off, but I think Paqueta was showboating a little bit. Mr. Burden, good evening to you, Rupert. I hope you're well. As I'm helping you this Saturday, can you pay for my breakfast at the seafood pub in Billingsgate? Only 50 quid a person. No, you're not helping unless you're coming down free of charge. I'm moving this Saturday. We're moving. I'm going to have a new studio, like a proper studio, rather than sort of makeshift. You don't know the things I have to do to set the show up. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I'm moving. And no, you're not invited unless you're coming all the way down for nothing. Mark, the Brighton game has given me some food for thought about our style of play. I really enjoyed the match, even though we did not have the ball for long periods. Got it. Right. I didn't watch the Brighton game, but I think, it's what you do with the ball. I know a lot of people say we want more of the ball. We don't want to be low block and sitting back, etc., etc. I don't think we did that on Saturday. Like I said several times throughout the show already, I think we just played against a superb team that held the ball really, really well. But I think we did, what we tried to do. There were a couple of times when we got it and we kind of gave away possession a bit too cheaply. But otherwise, we really did try to have a go at them at the weekend. And that bodes well for future games as well. How late am I? Not far behind. Chewbacca, good evening to you. Still, if I met you, I wouldn't ask for an autograph. I'd ask. It was an odd moment. Mark, I don't know. Mark, show yourself. If you're in there, I don't know which Mark it was. You gave me your first name, but not your surname. If you're in the chat tonight, Mark, do say hello and tell me that it's you that I signed. Yeah, I signed someone's shorts. There you go. Fame at last. James. Moyes should have, I don't know why, shorts. Moyes should have hooked off Antonio in the first half and pushed Bowen on. I think it was on his mind, but he tried it. I think it's not bad management to go, okay, I'm going to keep the same team as in the first half because we didn't play shit. We were okay. We were winning 1-0. So at that moment in time, there was no real reason to have to change much. And I think he tried to give it 10 minutes or whatever and see what happens. And then in fairness to Moyes, on the 60th minute, he had them ready. 57, 58 minutes, they were ready. And we were all like, hang on a minute. David Moyes is making 2 subs and it's only 56, 57 minutes. Now, it took, like I said, 5 or 6 minutes to get him on. And then when we saw the two players that were coming on, it's like, hang on a minute. He's bringing on two attacking players. Is he all right? Maybe the sun's got to his head. So I think he tried to say, look, we were 1-0 up. I think, rightly so. He said, let's see how the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half goes. And then if I need to change it, I will do. And that's why he then decided to bring Antonio off at that time. But like I said, what a shame, that he was going to bring Souček off. He was going to bring bring Souček off and Antonio off. And you could see Kudus and Benrahma coming in, probably down that middle there. And I think it would have done well. What an absolute shame that Alvarez got picked up an injury, so that he had to go off, because that just threw our game plan completely out. Jonathan, I understand everyone's arguments about Moyes' success, but we played ultra defensive, not had a clean sheet, and City had 27 chances with 18 on target. Those inside, it's not working. Like I said earlier, look, I get it. History will say that you're right in what we've done in the past. We've tried to play all this defensive stuff. We just couldn't get the ball off a very good team. Massive difference on Saturday to how we've played before. Massive difference. Mr. Duffus, Antonio is a beast mode is a great player. And beast mode is a great player. Trouble, he was blown out of his arse after 60 minutes. Yeah, unfortunately so. Jerry, I think it will take Kudus a little while to adjust to the Premier League. It's fast and physical. I think he's going to find that, and look, I actually said in a comment when people said, oh, well, Doku didn't need time. When you've got 11 players who are world-class players, it kind of makes it a lot easier, that transition for a new player to get into the team and start off well. We've got some very, very good players. One or two massively decent players like Paqueta, Bowen, etc. But it is a bit different. It will take a bit longer. I kind of don't like it, but I kind of get Moyes' approach. Look, who would have thought that Alvarez would have started the minute we signed him? I think a lot of people expected him to be sitting on the bench. I think Kudus will get his time. I'm pretty certain of it. It will take a bit longer. We're going to have to be patient, but I think Kudus will get his time on the pitch. Andrew, the style of football we play is unsustainable for the whole season. 80-20 possession, conceded almost every game we play is ridiculous considering the caliber of players we have at our disposal. Do you get my point in what I said at the weekend? We weren't sitting back just conceding possession. We couldn't get the ball. Am I wrong? I mean, tell me if you think I am, but I didn't see us trying to play that game, that containment game. We simply couldn't get the ball off a very good team. Rani, Moyes can only be offered a new contract if he's successful again this season, in my opinion. If he qualifies for Europe again, he's probably nailed on for an extension. And I would say, to be quite honest with you, if he qualifies us for Europe, either by winning a trophy or by finishing high enough in the league, I think he kind of deserves a new contract. Clive, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Garino, I thought we did okay against Man City, created chances, defended well, fine margins at the end of the day. Losing Alvarez cost us, in my opinion. I totally agree. Old man, imagine Mitoma instead of Benny down the left. Oh, yeah. Fair play. Good shout. Absolutely good shout. Good evening, Schizo. Not seen you for a while. I hope you're well. Moyes' plan floundered on the injury to Alvarez. It did, unfortunately. Lee, still, I get it, bro, but it still takes time to bed them in and mucks our season up. One step forward, sell players, 4 steps back. In my opinion, love our club to bits. Absolutely. I get you, mate. I get you. And we do get frustrated because we all think that, Kudus should be playing quicker and Mavropanos should be in, etc. Any more slip-ups from Aguerd, I think Mavropanos will come in. Kudus will get his game time. I think the start of he'll start on Thursday. I'm pretty damn certain of it. Garino, we should have bought another central defensive midfielder, in my opinion. Do you know, the irony is we should have done. I don't disagree with you, but then you know what would have happened? Everyone would have gone, "What's Moyes doing? Just filling the team up with defensive midfielders and defenders. Where's our attacking players?" That's the argument that would have come back. Let's scroll down. Keith, we have beaten the top clubs in recent past. Man United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. So why treat them like a free hit? No, let's attack them and beat them. Yeah, and that's what we tried to do at the weekend. Right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take you off piste a little bit and talk a little bit about. Let me just scroll up to that part of my script because if I don't have it written down, I'll completely forget. Right. Let's talk about the academy just for a few minutes because they've done really well. They come back all guns blazing. The under-21s played a Celtic B team on Friday in the Premier League International Cup in Chigwell. Back in action where we smashed them 5-0. Divine Mbama scored the opener within 10 minutes. West Ham doubled the lead in 12 with, remember this name, people, Callum Marshall. He's the one congratulating, or maybe Mbama's correct, congratulating him. Callum Marshall scored his first of the evening, and then Marshall scored his second, which was West Ham's third, on 28 minutes. It would only take West Ham another 3 minutes in the second half to get our fourth, as Mbama maturely read a deflected shot and tucked it for his second of the night as well. We made a whole load of substitutions, and one of our subs, Lewis Orford, netted a beautiful goal, a fifth goal, and soon after he got introduced into the game. Absolutely fantastic. They are absolutely thriving under Steve Potts. You know, I've been critical of Mark Robson, who's now become one of the coaches for the senior team. Under Steve Potts, they are doing superbly well. And like I've said, watch out for this boy, Callum Marshall. He's in absolutely fantastic form. We've heard an awful lot about Divine Mbama, and rightly so, because I think he will be a decent player. But this young lad as well, I think he's going to be superb. He scored 7 goals in 6 appearances already this season. He's one of the few players that stepped up from the under-18s to the under-21s. And I think he's a fantastic player in the making. Right, what the under-21s can do, the under-18s can do as well. I guess the only disappointment is they conceded 2 goals. But the under-18s played on Saturday, and they also won by 5 goals. This time, 5 goals to 2. They played Aston Villa at home. And Joshua Ajala brace secured the 5-2 win. The 16-year-old, now this is the new crop, by the way. Let's not forget, a lot of the under-18s have moved from the under-18s to the under-21s, and now the new crop of under-18s are here. 16-year-old Joshua Ajala scored a brace, 16 years of age, at Little Heath at the weekend. Kevin Keane's men are unbeaten in 3 matches in all competitions. Second victory of the season was set in motion by striker Jemai Umolu, who got the ball rolling when he found the bottom right-hand corner. This was followed up by Ajala's brace, and we won. We were 3-0 up with just 40 minutes gone. Aston Villa did pull a couple of goals back, but we back in again, winning 5-2. Look, we lie third in the under-18s Premier League. With 6 points from 3 games. And the top 2 teams, Crystal Palace and Fulham, have played 1 more game over us. I think it's going to be another fantastic season for the under-18s. And I think it's going to be a brilliant season for the under-21s as well. Our academy is doing really, really well. Now, staying on some players from the academy, some players out on loan. Keenan Appiah-Fulstan made his debut for Dagenham and Redbridge as a late second half sub at the weekend in the goalless draw against Oxford City on Saturday. Dagenham and Redbridge now sit 13th in their league with 3 victories and 2 draws from their first 9 games. Archie Woods is on loan at Dartford, where unfortunately they lost against Welling at the weekend to go out of the FA Cup. Goalkeeper Nathan Trott, unfortunately, after 1 win in the Danish league, they were back to losing ways again. And when they lost 2-1 to Randers, that's that result puts them 11th place in the Superliga. They're going to get relegated straight away, unfortunately. And Flynn Downs was in action as well, another loan signing. Flynn Downs was in action for Southampton, but he didn't fare well, where Leicester City smashed them 4-1 in the Championship on Friday night. Southampton are now 9th in the Championship table, 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats from their 6 outings. But, you know, Downs himself is getting an awful lot of game time, so I guess that bodes well. Right, back to your comments. Let's see. What have we got? All right, you've all started talking about Thursday, so why don't we go into Thursday? I'll tell you a little bit about the team that we're playing. So we are playing a side called TSC Bakatopola. They're in the Serbian League. They play at the TSC Arena. We were hoping that they would move the game. Oh no, sorry. The first game, of course, is at home. It's at home this Thursday. We've got them now. We've not sold out, and it's a real shame. And apparently it's going to be a half-empty stadium at the weekend. I think we've sold maybe 35, 40,000 tickets for the game. Topola, how are they doing? They're first in their league. They've won 6, drawn 1, scored 18 goals, conceded 6. But it is the Serbian league, so let's not start panicking. Let's forget about how you get there because it's a home game. Their manager, Sarko Lazatic, has won the Serbian league in the past with Bazanija in 2005-2006 season, and the Serbian league and Serbian Cup in the 2007-2008 season when he was manager of Partizan. Now, they don't have an out-and-out goal. They haven't got a top goal scorer. There's been several players that have got 2 goals each, and one of them is Milos Pantovic, 27 years of age. He joined them this summer. He's a Serbian international. He formerly played for Bayern Munich. So they don't have an out and out. I think about 4 of their players have got 2 goals each so far this season. So they're doing well in their league. Now, what about us? How are we going to fare against them? Well, people have been talking about, and I can see in the chat, who's going to start. Now, if you completely change the lineup that's been playing in the Premier League, then you probably go for something like this. Fabianski in goal, maybe Kera at right back, Mavropanos and Ogbonna partnering the centre back, maybe Creswell over at left back. In the centre of the park, maybe Benny and Fornals, and out wide you've got Cornet maybe on one side, Kudish on the other side, and then Ings and Mbama as strikers. A 4-4 going to happen. I think a lot of people would like to see that happen, but I think it's going to be more a little bit like this. I think you're going to have 1 or 2 players who are starting the Premier League are going to play. Fabianski will definitely start in goal. I think Kera will start. I think the back 4 will be Kera, Mavropanos, Ogbonna, and Creswell. I think then in the middle of the park, if he's fit enough, he probably will be. You'll see Alvarez alongside Fornals, and then an attacking 3 of Bowen, Kudush, and Benrahma with Ings up front. I kind of think that is kind of going to be the team that's going to be lining up. I mean, our subs, look what we've got on the bench. We've got an attacking play. You've got Antonio, Mbama, you've got Paqueta, Cornet on the bench as well. I don't know if Cornet's going to start. I think we're kind of trying to nurture him. We're trying to be careful with Cornet because I think his injury, even though he's gotten over it, if it happens again, that'd be it. I don't know. It could be, I think it was touch and go whether he's going to come back playing at all. So I think Moyes is trying to be a bit risk averse with him. But I think that might be more. You might see maybe 1 or 2 other players who are playing currently in the starting lineup in the Premier League also there. Possibly Paqueta for maybe Benrahma, maybe possibly Ward-Prowse for maybe Fornals. But I don't want to see too many of our players who are playing week in, week out in the Premier League starting in this game. We should have enough from the second team, whatever you want to call it. You should have enough from the squad to be able to beat Bakatopola. And I think even the team that's there will probably be good enough to beat them. Now, many people will say, I don't want to see Ings starting, but I think maybe Kudish might play a lot closer to Ings to support him. So I can see maybe a team like this starting on Thursday night against Bakatopola. I don't think they're going to... you should always be careful against European opposition, but I think we're going to have enough in our locker to beat them. I think the teams that we're going to have to worry more about is going to be Olympiacos and Freiburg when we're playing them. But I think that's going to be more or less the lineup that I expect on Thursday. Garino's saying front 3 of Cornet, Kudish, and Ings, with Fornals as central attacking midfield Thursday, please. Mbama to come on for Ings. So we're not far off there. But tell me what you think of that lineup. Do you think that's going to be near as damn it? Or what would you change there? Tell me. Schizo. Moyes should just say he's happy with current players rather than spin the not ready yarn. Yeah, he shouldn't say that. We get bored of that, don't we? Kevin, I've noticed still that teams pinpoint Sufal area. People have said that earlier. I think they do. I think they're pinpointing both our fullbacks, both left and right. It's funny that because I always thought we were stronger on the right side than we were on the left. I think Emerson has really been fantastic for us. But I do think, yes, I think you're right. I think maybe we need to do something with that right side. People have suggested Mavropanos. Maybe there'll be games where we'll go through at the back. I'm surprised we didn't go through at the back at the weekend against Man City, where quite possibly we play wing backs, sort of either Kera or someone else pushing further forward, and maybe Mavropanos sort of being on the right side of a three at the back. Trini. Nothing wrong with a player looking peed off being sub, shows desire. I do agree. I just think a bit of a sour face. I just think that look on his face kind of sort of said much more than, oh, I'm pissed off with being taken off. It was like, why the hell are you taking me off? Don't you know who I am? Sort of attitude. Bill, evening still. Sorry, join the comment. No problem at all, Bill. I hope you're well, mates. Thank you for joining. Amaret. Who else is there within our budget that is willing to join the Hammers who play in the mould of Antonio? Sweet FA. Oh, well, there are players, but Moyes has just got to stick his neck out and go and get one of them. Andrew. Antonio is almost 33. He needs to understand the reality. Yeah, exactly. I'm afraid so. It is what it is. But yeah, I get what Trini's saying. You want to see a bit of passion in the players when they're taken off. Peter, Benrahma let my club West Ham down really badly on Saturday. On his recent form, he wouldn't even get in a championship side. He was poor when he came on, got to be honest. Hammers Mikey, good evening to you. Aaron, are you delusional? Get your tongue. Another clueless member of the... Hey, calm. That's not, I don't want any of that. Everyone, we respect everyone's opinions. Some people think, that Moyes is doing well. Others don't. And that's fair enough. But let's not start attacking people in the chat, please. I hope you're well, Mikey. Mark, why do we not get any free kicks near opponents' boxes? Because they know we've got James Ward-Prowse. Maybe we need a player like Lingard to run at defenders and win a few. Maybe, yeah. Clive, it's never a good idea to compare the channels. Aaron, Estelle, everyone has different opinions. This channel is always good for him. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Andrew. I like Antonio, but he should be our backup striker now. He still don't have a better striker in his laughable. It is weird, isn't it, that we don't have, I kind of hope that we either sort it out this January or we absolutely sort it out next summer where we get a striker. David Moyes, you got to be honest, when Scamacca came in, you knew it wasn't going to work, didn't you? I remember when we brought Scamacca in, I was excited, but I kept comparing him to Haller. I said, he's not an Antonio. He's more Haller. Why are we doing this? Are we going to change the style of play? Maybe that's what Moyes wanted to do, and it just didn't work out. Jeff, evening to you, mate. Kudish is going to be great. He looks lively and defended well. I was impressed. I think there's an awful lot to come from that young lad. I totally agree with you. Black Country. Garino, it's a great place, mate. Good for your fitness. Great food, good drink. Where is a good place? And lovely women. What are you talking about? I want to go as well. Let's scroll down. Hammerit. Doesn't matter who watches what, so long as it's Hammers related. All great shows. I don't dislike any of them. Well done, Hammerit. Well said. Let's scroll down. Garino. I go up there. You're talking about going on holiday. You carry on, chaps. Trini, Man City are going to have those stats, but to all but top six sides. Exactly. It's not just against West Ham. They are going to have. I think when we started the season and we played a bit defensively against Bournemouth, I think that was disappointing. And then we played defensively against Chelsea, but we won. Played defensively against Brighton, but we won. Didn't play so defensively against Luton, and we won that. So I think Moyes, when he thinks he can do it, he wants our team to be a little more expansive. Just didn't work at the weekend, unfortunately. Andrew, that one-on-one Antonio messed up is the reason we need a proper clinical striker. You can't be missing them chances, especially against teams like City. And I think it was straight after that, or very soon after that, when Moyes took Antonio off, because you kind of look, you think back to the final, don't you? When Bowen got the ball, the way he knocked it forward and then managed to strike it, and then Antonio, just his touch was a little bit too hard. Trini, Kudish is fast and physical and will not need time to settle in my opinion. He speaks English as well. I want to see what happens on Saturday. Sorry, I want to see what happens on Thursday. I think if Kudus puts in a decent, really, really good performance on Thursday, I think that's his drum roll to play a bigger part in the Premier League. Clive, still, you promised me an interview. The clock is still ticking. I've changed the battery time. I'm sorry, mate. Send me an email and we'll set it up. Good evening, Martin. I hope you're well. Late into the... I know. It's my fault for starting early. I started really early. Andrew, in general, still, I agree with you about the City game. Thank you. I mean, you know, I do agree that we played a lot of games where we've sat back and invited teams on. I do. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not saying that that's never happened. I don't think that was the case on Saturday, though. Keith, let's be honest here. Being a West Ham fan and watching games feels like getting a 90-minute prostate. Well, for someone who's had a prostate exam, I'm telling you, they're not fucking pleasant. I'm telling you now. By the way, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Men, go and get your prostate checked. Seriously, I know I've gone off piste a little bit, but I've got a good reason for having said that. Go and get it checked. Don't be afraid. I know it hurts, fucking hurts, but go and get it checked. Thank you for reminding me of that, Keith. Andy, question still. Is Mavropanos nicknamed Dinos or Tinos? Dinos, D. Thought I heard him say it was Dinos on his intro video to the club. Got blocked for making comments on YouTube today because I disagreed with someone. How weird. What a thing to be blocked for. It's Dinos. It's Konstantinos Mavropanos, but he calls him, I don't know why he says Dinos, but it is Dinos, yes. Sangari was available. Yes, he was. Yeah, good player. Good player. We'll get him next summer. From who's he playing for? Is it Forest now, isn't it? Fuck me. Why did he go there? Anyway, Thomas, good evening to you. The thing I don't like is people saying, but it's City, we should be happy that we have a game. Well, Brentford beat City home and away last year, and they haven't spent nowhere near what we have. No, I get you. I'm not saying that. I think every game is a game that you should go out and try and beat teams at. And I think Moyes saw an opportunity, like I said earlier in the show, which is why he wanted to bring on 2 attacking players to sort of beef up to change our attacking style. But it's just so unfortunate that Alvarez got injured at the same time. Jack, we played Celtic at Dagenham and Redbridge. We did. Isn't that what I said? No. Did we? Yes, no. Well, it was our team. I don't know where they played. It was there, wherever it was. We played them and we beat them 5-0. Don't confuse me, Jack. Black Country Green. Okay, let me know. Keep that. Let's see, talking to each other, arranging holidays with each other. Fucking hell. I should become a travel show. Andrew, we should have taken a punt on Sander Berg as cover for Alvarez. I think his fee was reasonable and would have been an astute signing. We were interested in Berg several seasons ago. Yeah, good shout. Interesting shout. Yeah, don't disagree with that. Schizo, Stel, thanks for pronouncing Mumbama correctly. So many mangle. Trust me, I kept calling him Umbama, and people corrected me. It's Mumbama. I'm trying my best to pronounce players' names correctly this season. Andy, spot on, Stel. Marshall is going places, hopefully with us. Reminds of Tony Cobb. Fantastic little player. I'm telling you, people, watch out for him. Watch out for him. Thomas, Burnley were robbed a winner with a diabolical decision by VAR. Good to see VAR in action. Fucking shit. Get rid of it. It's absolute shit. It makes the game so dour. Jerry, I should watch them at Little Heath. It's only up the road. Yeah. I'm telling you, mate, the under-18s now, fantastic players. And the under-21s, even better. Keith, to be fair, beating Celtic 5-0 is a bit like me beating my 8-year-old granddaughter at Snap. It was the Celtic B team. It wasn't the Celtic under-21s, but it was the Celtic B team. So I'm guessing they would have had some senior players in that. Kevin, Bowen said he won't sign a new contract under Moyes. That's just total bollocks. Let me take you back. No disrespect. I don't mean I'm not having a go at you, Kevin, but let me take you back to what Bowen said. I said earlier in the show about Moyes. So let's get this. This is interviews this year. What Moyes has done for the club doesn't get enough credit. The players respect the manager. Everyone has bought into his ways. Is that a player that sounds like he doesn't want to sign for David Moyes? He's made his career. David Moyes has made Bowen's career. He brought him from the Championship. He's been playing regularly for West Ham United. He's been chosen for the England team under David Moyes. I think he will get his England place back sooner rather than later. There's nothing that not to like. If I was Jared Bowen, I'd be like, and he said, I'm loving scoring goals this season. We're back to doing what we do best, the counter-attacking football. It suits him. He loves it. Don't read too much into what social media says, mate. Got nothing to do with Moyes. He will sign the contract when it's the right contract to sign. And going back to you, Keith, I'm glad you finished that sentence about beating your 8-year-old granddaughter at Snap. Thank fuck you finished that sentence. Jerry, Downs hasn't looked that great for Southampton so far. I haven't seen it. He's getting a lot of game time, but I haven't seen how he's playing. What a shame, really. Let's scroll down. Andrew, Hugo Ekitike will not suit Moyes' system, a similar player to Skamaka and Allaire. Therefore, we shouldn't be chasing him. I don't disagree with you. Jack, we will get more than 250 tickets for the Serbians. Flights to Belgrade, cheapish at the moment. Worth a punt? No. Will we get to it? There's comment. If you speak to Mr. Lohman, he reckons we'll get more. He reckons we're going to get about 450. I genuinely don't know if it's worth it, to be honest with you, mate. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting to book my flights to Greece because I think we'll get a good couple of thousand for that, won't we? But I think we'll get about maybe 450. When it comes to that game, I was going to say earlier, I was told that teams in Europa League are meant to have a capacity of minimum of 8,000. So I was hoping when we play them out there that they will move this to a bigger stadium. Apparently not. Apparently UEFA are allowing them to play at a capacity of 4,500, which kind of means 250. But apparently people are saying up to 450 at most. Andrew, oh yeah, done that one. Let's scroll down. Epic. Moyes is going to start the same players every game and run them into the ground. Everyone will be knackered or injured by Christmas. I think we've got a good enough squad, to be honest with you, Epic, that he doesn't have to do that. I really do. So like I sort of shown you earlier, I think what a lot of people would like to see, if you're going to completely refresh the whole team, is that Fabianski, Kera, Mavropanos, Ogbonna, Creswell, Kudush, Benrahma, Fornals, Cornet, Ings, and Mubama. I think that's what people would like to see. What I think will happen, and maybe one or two other players who are playing regularly in the Premier League, I've thrown Alvarez in there and Bowen in there. You might see maybe another one player who's playing regularly, maybe someone like Ward-Prowse or something like that. But we've got enough now, haven't we? We've got enough in the squad for him not to have to do that, Epic. I get what you're saying, because that's what he did a few seasons ago. Hopefully, he'll have enough faith in the squad that he's got in order not to have to play the same players over and over again. Hammerit, the January signings will tell us if the club are going to be keeping Moyes on for longer. Good point. Very good point. It's going to be, the January window is going to be very, very interesting to see who we target, and if they're Moyes targets or not. Because I think a lot of people, you remember at the start of the transfer window, a lot of people were saying, oh, there's fallout between Steiner and Moyes. They don't agree on players, etc., etc. So who we get in January might give you a big indication. If Moyes hasn't signed a new contract by then, will give you a big indication on what would rather happen, what could happen with David Moyes going into next season. Keith, we're bringing Cornet on slowly, so slowly. Oh, he's flagged off. Gary, good evening to you. I think we should bench Alvarez for the Serb game. I think he needs a break. It's possible. I'm speculating. I'm just speculating that there might be 2 or 3 players that have been playing regularly, and maybe Alvarez might be one of them. Hamret, Thursday's game is going to be tougher than most think, and we won't rotate too much, in my opinion. Okay, good points. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an easy ride, but I think we should have enough in our locker. Even if we do rest maybe 6 or 7 players, to have enough in that squad to beat them. Andrew, if Moyes wants a striker as close to Antonio as he can get that bloke from Forest, I think he's brilliant. I think there's better though. I think let's see how he does this season. Bill, although I keep saying rotation, Moyes is risk averse, and we will see changes after the first half. I think there are going to be more changes than you realise, to be honest with you. Clive, such a shame about Cornet. I really like him. He's got so much attacking proficiency. I really want to see him come good. I do too, but I think it's quite dangerous with Cornet. I bet Moyes is biting his nails off when he goes to play for his international team. Sharky, yeah, I've not seen him on YouTube channels for months, Daniela. Hope he's okay. I don't know who you mean. Whoever it is, I hope he's okay too. Rani, Awonyi. Justin Antonio Mold, and just as clumsy most of the time. See, where there's a positive, there's a negative. I love that. I love that people go, yeah, he's good. No, he's not. Garino, Cornet's injury messed him up as he relied on pace. Was a bad one, I heard. Equivalent of doing your Achilles in terms of severity. It was bad, and I don't know where he'll play. I think Moyes was kind of several positions. He can play in Bowen's position. He can play as a left wing back, or he can play up front. Mikey, Moyes out still. City loss is the start of our downfall and free fall down the league with these tactics getting found out. Going to drop quicker than Katie Price Knickers. I don't agree. I genuinely don't agree, and I'll eat my hat if you're right, Mikey. But I don't agree. I think Saturday's game is not like it was in previous games where I've admitted we sat back too much. Even at the beginning of the season, after going a goal up against Bournemouth, we sat back and allowed them to, back into the game. I don't think Saturday's game was like that. I didn't see a team. I just didn't see a team that could get the ball off them. That was the difference. And I hope you're wrong. Mr. Doofus, Lingard looks more like Benny McCarthy than himself. Yeah, he's not fit. He's not 100% fit, is he? Andrew, Moyes only wants strikers that are going to run the channels and feed off scraps. Awonyi, whatever his name, is the closest striker to Antonio who will do it. I think there are others. I think there are other players that can do that. I mentioned it's such a shame that we didn't get Darwin Núñez. He's gone to Liverpool instead. I think he's the sort of player, but we won't get him now anyway. Good evening, Cyber. I hope you're well. Antonio is rude. He doesn't stop for anyone at the training ground. You spend your life at the training ground, don't you, Cyber? I hope you're well. James, someone asked, come on now. I said be polite. So don't start knocking each other, please. RJ, but then again, Antonio's physicality is a massive role in how Moyes sets up. It is. But there are players like that. But Moyes has just got to have the courage of his convictions and go out and buy another one. 69 Claret. Still not sure if we can get him, but I think many people have been saying the same player from Forest. What do you think? I genuinely don't know, is the honest answer. Now I'm going to look out for him. I'm going to see I'm going to take a bit more interest in his style of play, and then I'll be a bit more informed because I genuinely don't know how he plays, to be honest with you. Brian, how great would it be if Cornet could come good after starting a few European games? Having another attacking player with pace would be wonderful. I totally agree on that. Jonathan, I'm not surprised or blame Antonio missed the goal, but with the current tactics, we super clinical strikers, or we need to create more chances. I think this is the thing, though. We are creating a lot of chances. Actually, we are. Someone gave us the stat of the 10 goals that we scored so far this season. Only 3 of them have been from set pieces. All the others have been from open play. We are creating chances, but that's the thing that Antonio kind of lacks, isn't it? It's that finesse in order to control the ball. You see, when he doesn't have to think, if you give him the ball and he doesn't have to think, whack, you'll score. The minute he has to control it and think of what he's going to do with it, that's what when it goes a bit wrong. Samui, did you see Hudson Odoi go? No, I haven't. I'm guessing it must have been a scorcher. Who is he? Is he gone to? Is it Forest as well? But yeah. No, I haven't seen it. Mr. Moyes, good evening. Perhaps you can give us an answer or two. Are you going to ever find a replacement for Antonio, or is he still going to be playing for us when he's 45 years old? Jerry, it didn't hurt me. I've had loads of biopsies, had to be done. Good mention still. Fucking hurt me under local anaesthetic. Never again, mate. Never, ever again. General anaesthetic from this time on. They're fucking painful. What's wrong with you? Have you got an arse made of steel or something? Hammers Mikey. Moyes gives Sojak prostate exam every match before. Richard, is Moyes still afraid to drop certain players, in your opinion, still? If yes, doesn't this create a toxic culture amongst the squad and unrest? No, I actually think he's finally got a squad that he trusts. And I think we are going to start seeing players being dropped, rested. I don't want to say drop, rested. And I think it will happen. Him bringing Antonio off on 60 minutes on Saturday was a shock. I didn't think he'd do it, but he's done it. So no, I don't think Souček is the only one, isn't he? Souček is kind of the only one. It's interesting. He started the season where he dropped Fabianski. None of us thought that that would happen, but he's got Fabianski. He's got Areola in now as our number one in the Premier League. So no, I think it just takes him so long to do it, I guess, but no, I think the next one's going to be Antonio. Antonio is going to have to lump it sometimes that he may not be a starter in every game. Clive, as a survivor, I fully agree with Stel. All men need to get checked. I'm a living testament to my early diagnosis. There you go. Go and get yourselves checked, people. Good evening, Vinay. Souček is undroppable. No idea why. Yeah, it is the only one that he doesn't seem to drop him at all. Steve, evening, Stel. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. An enjoyable no, there's no enjoyment out of it at all. By a young blonde, different. Okay, fair play. Lucky bastard. Sigh. I've had a few sod kept to watch on. Glad you can all laugh at it. I had many colonoscopies and they don't hurt. Scaring the manly man, not good. It's a piece of cake. Fuck off, James. It's not a piece of cake. Either that or I'm a complete wuss. Bill, I believe it was a shame Downs wasn't kept as a backup for Alvarez, but agree he needs game time. Steiden now needs to get someone. Isn't that interesting that we did let Downs go, but not Connor Coventry? Because we needed, I know we needed a certain quota of homegrown players to submit our squad, but it could have been Downs instead of Coventry. I actually thought Coventry would go out on loan and not Downs, to be honest with you. Downs is a good shout. He probably would have been starting on Thursday, maybe. Gary, I won't go to the doctor unless absolutely no. You do it, mate. You go and get it done. You'll thank us all for it later. Vinay, Areola in goal. Best decision Moyes made this season. Mr. Diffus, last prostate exam I had, the doctor never rang, never said. Let's scroll down. Jerry, I would rather give Moyes an extended contract so it puts it to bed. I think he's been good for us. I don't think West Ham are going to make any decision whatsoever until I reckon they're going to see where we are around about midway through the season, round about January time, January time. Then they will they'll make that decision then. Andrew, will we ever start integrating some of our excellent under-21s into the fold under Moyes? Because I just can't see it happening. Why bring Ings on instead of Mbama? What's the point? I agree with you on that. I think Mbama should be given more game time without a shadow of a doubt. It's Neil from Down Under. Yes, you're absolutely right. Not seen him for a while. Yeah. Going back to that point, I hope he is well. Yes, I agree with you. I think Mbama should be given more game time. Bringing Ings on, unfortunately, just it doesn't work. Let's be really honest. Will we see any other under-21s? I don't think so. I don't know. I doubt it, to be honest with you. Moyes now has got a very good 24-man squad. And then, of course, there's Mbama, who's listed for the under-21s, who can still use players from the under-21s, of course. So I don't think we'll see much more than Mbama, unless we've done really, really well in the Europa League, like it did a couple of seasons ago, where if we've got a game or two to spare in the group stages, if we've won the group and we've got a game or two to spare, then you might see a few more youngsters coming through. Let's scroll down. Gary, Beanie probably has Porky chained up in the garden while she plots world domination. You haven't seen Neil or Beanie for a while either. Steve, mild man, a lifelong hammer, had prostate cancer, can be hereditary. That's why I got checked. Can't help but economy. It's bad for my family. Look, you got to get it done. You got to get it done. I totally agree. Kiosi, good evening to you. I've only just joined, but I'm curious to what youth players you'd like to see in Europa games. Well, we just mentioned that, mate. I think we'll see a bit of Mumbama at the moment. I don't know who else will come through. I think Callum Marshall is doing exceptionally well. So I just think we'll just have to wait and see, to be honest with you. If we've got a few games spare in the group stages, then you'll see a few youngsters coming through. But at the moment, Callum Marshall is smashing it in the under-21s. Mikey, you obviously ain't a hammer. Come on, people. Look, otherwise I won't read your comments out. Funky T. Before agreeing to have a prostate check, always check the size of the doctor's hands. Black country. Mate, when I say a biopsy, I'm not talking about just a finger. If it was just a finger, I'd be like, all right. It weren't. It was one. They had to take specimens there to. Anyway, Black country. I've just turned 60, and guess what? I've had this thing through the letterbox from the doctors. I did that. Do it. I had to do that as well. Do it. Imagine. I mean, I don't know where this channel's going to. A bloody medical advice center. I had to do that. Imagine you've got to put a little bit of poo in a tube and send it off to be examined. Fucking bizarre. Anyway, let's scroll down. Where are we at? Not far away. Not far away. Let's do a few more comments. Clive. Understood, Bill, but sometimes laughter is the best and only medicine, but I respect that you are... Oh, Bill, are you all right, mate? What's going on here? I haven't seen Bill's comments. So, Bill, don't find it funny. Sorry, mate. Not laughing at people. It ain't funny. And I was being serious about getting checked. Definitely have to get it checked. Lee, thanks still on the chat. Great show as always. Comments. Be safe. Thank you, Lee. Much appreciated, mate. Always a pleasure to have you on. Andrew Downs wasn't a Moyes signing. I don't know. Wasn't he? I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm quite disappointed that Downs didn't stay at West Ham, to be honest with you. Well, I mean, he's only out on loan, but anyway. Ryan, Moyes weakened us at the moment. He brought Benny on. Ben Rama came on and he should have done awful lot better. He seemed so lackluster. It was such a shame because Moyes wanted to have add a different impetus up front. But you're right. He came on. He didn't really do much. Peter, David Moyes is the best manager my club has had for a long time. While irrelevant the players and the tactics, he's done well. You know, people don't like his style of football, but he's done well. Richard, if we stay in Europe for next season with no trophy, would that be classed as a more successful season than the last one? I think if we finish in a position where we get back into Europe, I think that's successful. If we finish in a position where we've won a trophy, I think that's successful. If we finish 10th or lower and win a trophy, I think that's successful. So basically, either finishing in the top 6 or 7 in the league, I think it's got to be considered successful, or winning a trophy has got to be considered successful as well. Let's not get carried away with ourselves, Richard. The last time we won a trophy before a few months ago was what, 1980, something like that. Let's scroll down. Hammerett, just want to say good luck and hope for a speedy recovery to Fries, our under-13s keeper, who's recently been dying. Grossman, absolutely good shout. Good, really good shout. Let's scroll down a bit more. Oh, I can't scroll down. I'm at the end. Hammer it again. Benny has been poor to watch this season so far. Not sure what's gone on there, but I want to see Cornet give him competition for the shirt. It's got to be something to do with his injury, why Cornet's not starting more often. Garino, end of the day, forget being embarrassed. Get yourself checked if you're over 50 or if you have any doubts. Absolutely agree. I'm down at the bottom. 1 hour 53. That's not bad. That's not bad. Mikey, last time I had prostate done, I told the doctor that his ring was hurting me. He turned around and said that if... I'm going to end on that. People, as usual, thank you very much for all the comments. Thank you all very much for all the interaction. Like I said, we've got, just to recap, take no notice of all these transfer rumour stories. They're absolutely ridiculous at the moment. We should be focusing on the football. So every time you read about Paqueta going to Newcastle for 52 million, you can say Stell said it's a load of bollocks. You read about Moyes not wanting to keep Aguerd. Stell said that's a load of bollocks as well. And Bowen not signing a contract because he doesn't want to play under David Moyes, that's the biggest load of bollocks going. So you can ignore that too. Forget about the transfers. Let's worry about them when the transfer window opens nearer January. Let's focus on Thursday. European football is back. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a test for us, but I think we've got enough in the team that we've got. Like I said, I think the selection will be something like this. We'll see a lot of players that haven't had a lot of game time. Mavropanos, I think, will get his debut. I think maybe Creswell will be back, etc. Maybe Fornals gets a game. Kudish, I think, will start as well. So I think we'll see a few players, a few changes, hopefully, and I think they'll do us proud. Let's look forward to that. Then we've got Liverpool at the weekend. And I think we'll give them a run for their money too. Thank you all for watching. Have a good week. If anything comes up, I'll do a quick show on it throughout the week. But stay safe. Have a good week. Anyone that's going to be there on Thursday and you want me to sign your shorts like I did with Mark the other day, come up, bring a felt tip, and I'll do that too. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.